What is political advertising? It's the sale of a candidate to voters. Nothing more, nothing less. Except if you'd like to know how to do it. In which case, you should watch this entire video because I got a lot to tell you, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. There are three foundational things that go into political advertising. I'm going to do a deep dive into all of them. Then I'm going to tell you how to use this information to plan your own advertising campaign. Item number one, what is a campaign message? Your campaign message answers 5 questions. What makes you qualified? 2, what are your notions of right and wrong? Another way to ask, what is your moral code? Item number 3, what are you going to do for the voters in your jurisdiction if you get the power to do it? Item number 4, why should voters trust you? Item number 5, what makes you better than your opponent? That is the substance of a campaign message. If you give that information to voters, you've equipped them with what they need to make an intelligent decision in the election. If you don't, they will never know it, because you know what? Voters don't go looking for you. They expect you to give this information to them, either in your advertising, your literature, or the things that you say over the course of a campaign. If you don't have a message in a political campaign, there is nothing to advertise. So that comes first. Item number 2 that is foundational. Here's the truth about running in a competitive election. If you try and be all things to all people, you are not going to be anything to anybody except somebody who walks down the middle of the road. In other words, as you look at the marketplace that you have to appeal to, the very first thing you think about in disseminating your message is, who do I target and who do I not target? Because you don't want to waste money trying to advertise to people who are never going to vote for you. So, what are your targets? First, look at the kind of people that just their arm would fall off if they voted for someone like you or someone affiliated with your party. Get them off your target list. Don't bother talking to them. You don't even want them to know there's an election, because you're never going to get them. Use your resources to reach the 2 other kind of people, which are the people who would vote for you if they show up to vote, and the people who could be persuaded to vote for you if you make your case better than your opponent. That is the essence of targeting, but there are some fine-tuning things that go in to your targeting. One is, look at the geographic locations where people live, because I'll give you this example. I cased a congressional district a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that this is a district that went from a southern point to a northern point. And I noticed that the piece of the electorate most hospitable to my client were people who lived in the southern end of the district, and the least hospitable to my client were the people who lived in the north. So we have created what will be a geographic strategy targeting certain counties with a lot of advertising. Look at the demographics of the marketplace. Look at people by age, by income, by occupation, whether they rent or whether they own. Compare income levels by counties or areas in your district. Look at the difference between those who live in urban areas, suburban areas, and rural areas. You have to have a demographic component of the electorate that you understand, because inevitably you'll find that people vote different ways depending on how old they are, whether they own or rent, their income level, or where they live. The third thing you want to look at is past voting history. Look at places where you have people who are lots of swing voters in areas where no matter what you say, the candidate of one party or another always wins 85, 90% of the electorate. Direct your resources to places where you can actually win votes. Now, if you have no idea how to get a hold of data like this, leave a comment in the comment section and I will tell you where you can find it. The third foundational thing of an advertising campaign is the means that you are going to use to disseminate your message to your target audience. So there are three kinds here I'm going to mention. One is social media. It is the most powerful tool available to political candidates in our time. You can develop a large following if you organically grow your audience by repeatedly posting on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, even Twitter. What do you say? Well, why you're running, what makes you qualified, what you're going to do for people. You comment on issues of our time. You comment about what you would do that your opponent won't do. You comment about how you're going to improve people's quality of life in ways that your opponent can't. You use news hooks of the day. If we're bombing some foreign country today, that's an excuse to comment about why Congress ought to be involved in declarations of war. If trade policies are in the news, you can comment about what should be our trade policy. You have ample opportunities to feed the beast. The beast is social media, but if you're only on social media once a month or once a week, it's not enough. That is a beast that needs to be fed if you want that beast to do for you what it's capable of doing. Next thing to turn to is the inexpensive. Now, social media, of course, is one, but it doesn't take a lot of money to produce a handout. It doesn't take a lot of money to get a walk list of voters together, or it doesn't take a lot of money to go knock on doors. It certainly takes no money to send those people a thank you note after you've had a nice conversation with them. It doesn't take a lot of money to distribute press releases to the mainstream media. It doesn't take a lot of money to call reporters and offer to do an interview about your campaign and what you stand for. It doesn't take all that much money to print yard signs and get them up in people's yards so that people in your community can see that you have support. These are the least expensive things that you can do in a political campaign that help you build your brand and your campaign apparatus. There are things that do cost money, and the advantage is when you're paying to put it in front of somebody's eyeballs or in their ears, you can punch a button for a certain amount of money and suddenly the TV or the radio or the mail is going full bore and you're flooding the zone with information. However, that does involve money. So the reason I mention the inexpensive and the expensive is to bring up the topic of resources. It's hard to win a campaign with no money. I mean, even volunteers, after a long day, need to be fed some pizza and some soft drinks. Part of the other piece of an advertising campaign is how are we going to raise the money to put all of this together? Now, here's the good news. I got a video that's available to you. The link to it is right below this one. It's called How to Raise Money in a Political Campaign. The more money you have, the more advertising you'll be able to do. I tell you how to raise it so that you can have a nice advertising budget instead of none at all.